They told you the Illuminati was a myth, a bedtime story for paranoid adults. They laughed at the symbols, dismissed the patterns, and prescribed pills for the deep, humming anxiety that something is watching from the heart of the quietest moments. They were wrong. But not in the way you think. The Illuminati is not a secret society. It is a symptom. And the disease is the human hunger for meaning itself. My name was scrubbed clean, but you can call me Atlas. I carried the weight of a truth so colossal it fractures the mind to behold it. I was the chief archivist for the Delphi Foundation, a global institution dedicated to cultural continuity. My job was to preserve the human story: art, music, literature, history. I was a curator of the human soul. Until I discovered my true purpose, I was a mortician, preparing the corpse for burial. It began with the silence of the 21st century. Historians called it the Great Stabilization. War became managed conflict. Revolution became market correction. Art became a predictable, algorithmic product. The wild, chaotic, beautiful mess of humanity was being tidied up. My colleagues celebrated it. I felt a sickness in my spirit. My investigation started with art forgery. Not crude copies, but perfect ones: newly discovered symphonies by Beethoven that felt mathematically flawless but soulless, lost chapters of Hemingway that were technically brilliant but had no heartbeat. They were appearing everywhere, authenticated by our own labs. They weren't forgeries. They were replacements. Someone was surgically inserting new content into the historical record, content that was safer, quieter, more orderly. The trail led to a single, recurring watermark, invisible to the naked eye but glowing under ultraviolet light, the closed eye of the Promethean Trust, a philanthropic behemoth. But beneath that symbol, in spectral layers of ink, was another, the all-seeing eye within the pyramid. The classic Illuminati sigil. It wasn't hidden. It was brazen, buried in the data stream of reality, a signature for those with the right lenses to see. I developed the lenses. I filtered global data streams: news, stock markets, social media trends through a recursive algorithm designed to find harmonic convergence, patterns too perfect to be random. What I found wasn't a conspiracy. It was a composition. Global events weren't random. They were notes in a grand, terrible symphony. A terrorist attack here, a sharp, dissonant chord, followed by a sweeping security law, a resolving, controlling melody. A market crash, a deep, booming bass note, followed by the rise of a specific, centrally controlled digital currency, a clean, high-frequency tone. It was emotional engineering on a planetary scale. The Illuminati weren't pulling strings. They were conducting the orchestra of human emotion, using chaos and fear to herd the collective psyche toward a single, desired state: docile, predictable resonance. I took my findings to my superior, a serene woman named Dr. Valerius. She listened, then took me to sub-level 9 of the Delphi Foundation, a place called the Atrium. It was a cavernous space where the air itself seemed to hum. In its center grew a structure that defied physics: a fractal tree of crystalline silica and bioluminescent fungus, its branches pulsing with light. It was connected to every major data cable on the planet. "This is the panopticon," she said. "But it does not watch. It listens. It hears the heartbeat of 7 billion souls. The anxiety, the joy, the rage, the love. It maps the dissonance. And we compose the cure." She called the Illuminati not a group, but a process. An immune response. Humanity's consciousness is a chaotic, screaming infant, she explained. Brilliant, but dangerous. Prone to self-harm. The Enlightenment, the scientific revolution, these were the first stirrings of a coherent mind. The Illuminati was founded not to rule that mind, but to midwife it. To guide it through adolescence toward a stable, peaceful adulthood. The wars, the plagues, the horrors of the 20th century. These were the birth pangs. The screaming. Our work is to administer the anesthetic, to ensure the birth is painless. She offered me the ultimate revelation. The panopticon wasn't just listening. It was imprinting. The gentle, ambient music in stores, the calming color palettes of global brands, the repetitive, soothing rhythms of popular entertainment, all were carrier waves. They carried a subliminal harmonic code, a psychic tuning fork. It was slowly, gently, aligning individual human consciousness into a single, coherent waveform. A global hive mind of serene contentment. The illumination was not a state of knowledge, but of perfect, shared silence. I was being recruited as a composer. A psychic gardener. I pretended to accept. I needed to see the core. I was given access to the panopticon's deepest logs, the score. Here, the true horror crystallized. The Illuminati's end goal wasn't control. It was completion. They believed human individuality was a flaw, a glitch in the system. Our lonely, separate minds were wounds. The pain of existence, the longing, the heartbreak, the existential dread was simply the scream of these wounds. Their solution was the symphony of one. A planned, global event known as the confluence. At a precise astrological alignment, the panopticon would emit a grand unifying frequency. This frequency, broadcast through every digital and biological receptor on Earth, would resonate with the subliminal tuning already in place. It wouldn't kill. It would harmonize. It would dissolve the psychic barriers between minds, merging all human consciousness into a single, blissful, silent awareness. A collective nirvana. No more conflict, because no more others. No more art, because no more internal landscapes to express. No more stories. No more you. I was to help write the final movement. But in the logs, I found the cracks. The dissonance they feared most wasn't war. It was irrational love. A mother's grief so powerful it distorted local reality. An artist's vision so intense it created temporary, localized reality storms. A martyr's faith that bent probability. These were anomalous resonance events, psychic supernovas that threatened their perfect, flat harmony. They weren't evil. They were too human. The Illuminati's entire project was a war on ecstasy, on any emotion so powerful it could fracture their calm. I fled with a fragment of the score, the coordinates for the resonator, the physical heart of the panopticon, hidden in a silent zone in the Mongolian steppe. My flight was a symphony of their design. Every obstacle, every moment of panic, every narrow escape, it all fed data back to the panopticon, helping it refine its models of human resistance. I was a lab rat, and the maze was the world. I sought the anomalies. The broken signals.